Welcome to the NerdBrand Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Jason. I'm here with Mitch. I'm here with John, and we have return guest Diana Richardson from Semrush. I got it right.
Got it right this time.
I'm so proud.
Yes. We're going to talk about basically the brand differentiation is what the title of this show is. But before we get into that, I'm going to plug something new that's going on and exciting in our area, and it's called the ACA Club, and it's a business club that meets once a week at Campbellsville University at 9 a.m. on Thursdays. You can come check it out, visit. Maybe you would like to join. It is not quite like a BNI or a community or leads group that you would find. It's a business club, so members pretty much hire each other rather than having to warm up a referral, that kind of a vibe to it. It's an international club, so there are many contacts. You could meet people from all over the globe, business owners, CEOs, founders, all that. I hope that I'm getting this right. If Sharice, if you're listening and I didn't, sorry.
Get a nasty email.
Yeah.
You're out of the club.
Yeah. The general manager of the Louisville chapter, her name is Sharice Crawl. She is, oh my God, she is like one of us nerds. I absolutely cannot overstate that enough. So fantastic person to meet. So if you come out Thursday, you can meet her and she'll introduce you, talk to you about the club. You'll be able to sit and network for about half an hour. And then this guy is actually going to present for about 10 minutes on branded search, not quite as eloquently as Jason Bernard, but I'll give a nice, as best I can in that 10 minutes, and then refer to an episode we did on the podcast with Jason Bernard, where he dives into it much deeper. You can also meet Jonathan Payne. Jonathan will be visiting that day. So when you see Jonathan, you can run over to him and go like, it's you.
It's you. I exist.
Yes. Many people have said, like, you talk about Jonathan like we've met him, and Jason, we've not met him. And I was like, oh, right. That's right.
Well, you'll get your chance.
Yeah, so now's your chance.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy the craftsmen in the group of the nerds. And so, but yes, every Thursday, 9 a.m. at Campbellsville University, Louisville Education Center is where we meet. Same time, same place, Batman. So I think that's going to cover that for the opening. So for today, the unofficial title of the show, we have to give credit to one of our nerds, Coral Abood, for this one. How far is too far? Standing naked. I mean, apart from your competitors. So,
thank God everyone did not come naked to this episode.
yes.
That could have been embarrassing.
We didn't try to stand out too much.
No one wants to see that.
Yeah. Everyone's wearing pants. We can assure you. But we wanted to talk about some examples of brands that have done a good job differentiating themselves from their competitors. So I want to kind of get into some examples of that. But I'm going to open the floor, of course. Diana, they probably, you've been on the show twice before. This is your third go around, and you probably have it memorized. But I'm going to introduce yourself, please, and tell them who you are and what you do and anything new you want to share.
Okay. So I am Diana Richardson. I have been a digital marketer since 2006. I learned SEO, PPC, social, all that from the ground up from a company that was transitioning from print to digital. So very cool experience to have under my belt. And I've worked for several agencies and have learned so much about the power of storytelling that it kind of propelled my career into the social media world. And that is how I got hooked up with Semrush. And I, for a while, was working with a team around the, SEO and the core products with Semrush. But I recently just moved to a team that focuses on agencies, which is great because that is my career and is a very nice tie-in to the NerdBrand agency as well. So we're even closer than before, if that was possible. So really excited to be on here and see you guys again. I'm just so glad you guys are together. I feel like you guys missed each other, being shoulder to shoulder with each other. So I'm just happy that y'all get to be together.
Well, us too.
Yeah.
I mean, the podcast started, right? And we weren't together at all.
Nope.
For a year.
Yeah.
So it was rough.
Yeah, it was just, it was only audio too. So when we very first began, we didn't even, it was not even, there was no video. We weren't even doing that. I don't think we got into the video portion until episode 55-ish, maybe.
Oh, was it that far? Was it that
Yeah,
long?
yeah. I mean, because John and I had a sobering conversation the other day with somebody that like said that, oh my gosh, you guys have done so many episodes and so much content, but it's easy to kind of sit and listen to while I work and consume. And we were like, I think we were both kind of like, oh yeah,
thank you.
yeah. We both were I was just like,
Don't hear it a whole lot.
yeah. It's like when you drive a really long distance and you get to your destination, but then you don't remember how you got there.
Did you teleport?
Yeah. You park your car and you're
Mentally.
like, I'm here. And then you're like, wait, how did I get here? Oh my God, did I hit anyone?
The past 2 years have felt like teleportation.
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
Yeah, I
Let's be
did.
honest.
So, you guys have any brands that you think have gone too far or done a very good job differentiating themselves from others in their field of competition?
That have done a good job of differentiating themselves?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to like get like really like negative on the show and be like, well, you know what, they really suck and this is what they did and everybody got mad. I don't want to like go too far down that road, but I'm thinking that there's a lot of like and I can't say from an ad or marketing perspective, but I use this a lot and we've talked about it on the show a lot, like Walmart and Target. Target is technically number 2, Walmart's number 1, right? But Target has more of a if you buy a teapot at Target, it's made by a designer. If you buy one at Walmart, it's probably cast in a production line and thrown in a box for all we know. It's just the way it goes.
Well, but here's not to get off on a tangent. Dirty little secret is they all come off an assembly line.
Yeah, I know.
What Target has done a really good job of applying more polish to their brand. There's still a discount store somewhat.
Yeah, but there's a designer feel with Target.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny because Target has become that place where people they've put forth an image where you want to just come here, and it's just nice to walk around and look at the stuff because of the design aspect you were talking about.
Right.
There appears to be an emphasis on the design of things and not just having a wide selection of things. What's ironic, I think.
Sorry, Mitch.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, even their choice to have Starbucks in their stores, that is a business and branding decision.
Yep.
And that aligns with, and I think Target really understands their audience. And because you could assume that your audience is also the Walmart audience, but they do little touches like their interior design, choosing a brand like Starbucks to partner with, are really smart, knowing your audience choices.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think probably, I could be wrong, but I tend to think that Target skews a bit younger than Walmart. And I will say this: I think Walmart has a broader appeal, but I think that's more of it's more of a function of the way Walmart operates. Yeah, it doesn't have the spit and polish, if you will, that Target has, and the emphasis on design that Target has. It doesn't skew as young in the way they promote themselves, but you can find just about anything you may really need,
and it's affordable.
And it's affordable. And when push comes to shove, sometimes that's it's Walmart's the place you go when you really need something, you need it, you want to get in and you want to get out. Target's someplace, well, I might need something, but I kind of want to look around and I might want to look at a couple of other things.
And I'm going to get 15 or 20 things.
Right. And maybe get a cup of coffee. The other thing
is
a candle.
and organic tomatoes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I think you hit on. There's something else, Diana. I think. I think Target. I want to be careful how I frame this, but I think Target skews a bit more, as well as younger, maybe a bit more little p progressive. I mean, because of the emphasis on organic and things of that nature.
Everybody in the studio is like, what?
Well, we had to put it together for just a second, but I get it now.
Yeah, I mean, really.
I'm with you.
I mean, I'm not talking politically, but I'm just thinking general lifestyle-wise.
Yeah.
The people that put more emphasis in their lifestyle when it comes to things like organic and locally sourced and all of those sorts of things, that skews Target. People, when you go into Walmart, you don't care. You really don't. I don't care where it comes from. I just need it.
It's utility.
I know what I'm going to pay for it. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more. Thank you.
That's
a good summary.
It breaks down to utility versus design, but to also note that Target really doesn't see Walmart as competition, maybe as Walmart may see Target. Target sees Amazon as competition.
Everybody sees Walmart.
So, and of
Amazon
course,
coming to us.
Amazon now is like everybody's crawl right now. I mean, that's just, John, you know about that being our e-commerce guy. But that's one example of how maybe a differentiation could happen. But in advertising, we recently saw a commercial, and Diana, we don't know if you've seen this or not, but Mitch, you made a comment on it on LinkedIn, or did you send me the message? But it was about our favorite advertiser, Ryan Reynolds, who was advertising gin and slamming potato juices.
Slamming vodka. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Reynolds can get away with anything he does.
Yeah,
it's like he is one of those brands that has a pretty wide arena to play in, because you just kind of expect the unexpected from him. You expect him to be brash. You expect him to be kind of spontaneous,
a little
snarky. I mean, you nothing he does will really surprise you, and it almost always pleases you.
Well, he's
if you
he's
will.
got the groundwork of the equity of being a celebrity. So,
But for me, like if I was the vodka company, that isn't brand differentiation, because then my brand is Ryan Reynolds, but I am the vodka. So for me, that's actually not like a differentiator. And because I have Ryan Reynolds is the spokesperson for a lot of people because he's pleasant and he's famous and he's good. He's a great personality.
Yep.
But I don't understand or can differentiate between the different brands that he represents. Like it's just a Ryan Reynolds vodka commercial.
You raise a great point.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of dovetails into something we talked about a little bit yesterday in that meeting we had yesterday, when I was talking about, it used to be when you had a celebrity or an on-screen or on-radio talent that represented a brand.
Yep.
You associated them with that brand. That was part of brand differentiation. I've noticed a trend over the last year, and the example I use is the guy that appears in the Spectrum cellular commercials. But he appears in I can't remember which brand of truck it is, one of the automakers, their truck commercials, and he appears in some other product. You seeing the same person frequently associated with several different brands. The question in my mind is, does that cloud the picture as far as being able to differentiate the brand?
I mean, I don't think you can differentiate on that person. Definitely. I mean, they're touting 3 different products, and if people are paying attention, they're recognizing the face and associating, probably mixing it up. Because you couldn't even remember which brand he was representing.
The truck. I can't remember the truck. I just remember the commercial because it's such an entertaining commercial where he has a cat that behaves like a dog.
Yeah, and see, that's the answer to the question, is that you're sitting there going like, can't really remember this, well, there you go.
It's a problem. There's a problem. I mean, obviously, there may be an issue there on several different levels, but it just seems to be a trend now where you see there'll be a brand uses a particular talent. The promotion takes off, the advertising takes off, it gets a lot of views. Then you start seeing that other brands say, "Oh, I want that guy." You don't see that with, let's say, Progressive Insurance. They've had Flo for several years.
Right.
You're stealing one of my examples.
Are they? I'm sorry.
Oh, you need to be quiet and let Diana talk.
Go ahead, Diana.
No. But I think, to Mitch's point, I think this is stemming from influencer marketing, because influencers represent different brands on their social media channels. There's, I think of Reese Witherspoon or something, and she's one day she's talking about her own products, and the next day she's, having tea in a Target teacup set that she got from that brand. So, I think that, this muddled celebrity thing comes from influencer marketing, and it doesn't quite work in traditional marketing yet, because I don't know why, because it's
not
confusing.
Organic.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
And it's
I know Ryan Reynolds, but I am completely confused as to and it may water down the actual endorsement, because that was the original purpose of having celebrities in your commercials, right? It was a celebrity endorsement. It came with credibility.
Exactly.
But when now when you're talking about this guy who's backing up this truck and this vodka and this cloud platform, whatever, now it's okay, well, what do you you're just paid to do this commercial. Now I don't believe you, because I just know you're making money for your acting.
It really makes me wonder I'm trying to think. I just recently saw there's a commercial actress that appeared in, I can't remember what it was for. She appeared in one spot that I guess it took off. Now I've seen her in representing two other brands. And I wonder where this trend came from, where the decision makers have latched onto this and they're saying, that spot took off.
It went viral.
I want to use that person. So was it the concept that took off, or was it the talent that appeared in it that caused it to take off? Is the cart pulling the horse here? It's really interesting. And where is this decision making coming from? What's that?
Yeah, like, are they having those conversations? Are they looking at it from that conceptual standpoint, or are they just seeing like, this was a success, hire that person, it'll be a success. Like, people like her, like him, like, do it, And
I think it's a mistake. I mean, just off the cuff, I feel like it's a mistake. That's the wrong reason to choose talent for producing your spots. I mean, you want to be relatable. You want it to be singular. Go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to pose the question to you. So if Ryan Reynolds agents came to you and they said, Ryan Reynolds wants to represent NerdBrand, what would you say?
Here you go. You're going to say no, aren't you, Mitch?
I'm going to say yes.
I would too.
Me too.
I would say just because he's so popular and people gravitate toward him so well, I'm willing to give it a shot. Here's the thing. Here's the differentiator with Reynolds, though. He actually runs and owns an agency now.
A production agency.
Director.
Yeah.
Right. He's the
commercial
creator
for that too.
Yeah. I would be fine with just him being on the podcast. I don't need him to represent NerdBrand.
Make sure to
I'd be
tag
fine
him
with him
when you
just
post
calling
this
in.
out.
Yeah. I would just be like, hey, let's talk about, advertising and, in this day and age. And then,
that would be a really fascinating perspective to have from him, especially, that he is running his own agency now. That would be so interesting to hear his perspective on his, like, what he thinks. I mean, why don't we just call it the Ryan Reynolds effect? Like, what he, maybe I just created a new buzzword. Thank you very much.
This is why we have you on the podcast.
But he would be interesting to talk to you about this. Yes, is my point.
Yeah. I mean, because one of the things that he's doing, it's not a part of the agency that they have, but it's a separate, I think it's called Mountain, MNTN. And it's a SaaS. Is it the SaaS service for media buying for?
It's like do it yourself.
Yeah.
I very briefly looked at it.
Yeah. So it's kind of a unique new tool for placing for television commercials or that kind of a media.
Yep. It's a do it yourself. It's kind of almost like a subscription or do it yourself type of platform.
I wouldn't want to associate do it yourself because we've seen over the years do it yourself start with obviously web, like build your own website and don't have to know code. Well, how many of those websites actually are today working and convert, and in your arena, Diana, how many of them do you see rank well? So, it's sort of like you get into the do it yourself. Sorry, Robert. I said, you end up having this, if it's a do it yourself and you want to do it on the cheap, then you have cheap results, to be blunt.
Get what you pay for.
Hiring an expert and the idea of an expert being cheap, it's illogical. I'm going to be a Vulcan on this and be like, that's highly illogical, Jim.
Well, the other side of this is the technology, like in every other aspect of this business, as I've watched it evolve over the last couple of decades, it's all moving more toward empowering the brands to take charge of their brand.
Yeah, even at a high level. I mean, Spectrum, not to bring them up again, but they're offering their own, buy it yourself platform. Spotify, offers the buy it yourself, and they're all taking and there's quite a few audio platforms now coming out that are place your own radio ads beyond Spotify. So it's kind of a growing area too.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to know like how to target. John, you said before, like in a way, like it's paid ads is like an auction.
Right.
You need to understand that, and it's a daily spend, and it's that there's all these little minute things that are going on that an expert knows to make the most out of the money you're spending, which allows you to leverage the rest of your budget in other more useful areas.
But I also don't want people to be discouraged and think that this is not teachable.
Yes.
We all had to learn this, even the experts in the field, and the do-it-yourself platforms are a decent way to get that experience, especially if you are in school for marketing. I don't teach this. I preach this a lot, in that if you want actual hands-on experience to learn how to build a website, how to optimize, how to run those ads, do it for yourself. Build yourself a website in WordPress or Wix or
Be
Squarespace.
a practitioner.
To be a practitioner. These are actually really great ways to level up your own skills. But if you are a business looking for that expertise and you don't have time, or it's way overwhelming, which is a very common feeling, then that is the time for the experts for sure. But it's totally learnable and teachable.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think during those learnable, teachable moments, that's when people become aware that I don't have the time for this.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I tried hanging doors in my house once and I got the doors in, but boy,
do they open?
Some did, some didn't. So, I was like, well, at least the bathroom shuts. You gotta hope one works. You kind of get into that practice.
Curtains in his house now.
Yeah, just curtains everywhere. It's like, why do you have curtains? Because I learned I'm not a carpenter. Anyway, some of the ways that other brands do, differentiate themselves. I'll go down this list. If any of come to your all's minds as an example in your head, we can talk about it.
I got a couple examples.
Oh, all right. Well, let me read this out, and then we'll have you go first.
I'm prepared for this day.
See, guys, what's going on?
We didn't.
I know, I can tell,
obviously,
because I'm looking at both of them. And I'm like, yeah,
help.
Anyways, deliver a unique point of purchase experience, a distinctive brand collateral, use a mascot, which kind of touched on that with the whole celebrity. I mean, in a way, they're using them as mascots, but make it convenient. Stand out on shelves, appeal to emotions, shock, and then personify your product. So, Anna, what have you got?
Yep.
You look like you're just like you're sitting on a button. What do you?
That's me. I just sit here and can't wait to talk, and I interrupt everybody. So I'm sorry.
No, that's me. That's me.
I hadn't thought about differentiating yourselves on the shelf, though. That is one area I hadn't thought about. So that's a really good point. So we'll do a throwback to Mitch's Progressive example. And I actually wanted to praise State Farm for their efforts. So the insurance, industry is hugely competitive, but I think State Farm's recent campaigns have been really great to differentiate themselves in that atmosphere, because they went from Jake from State Farm being kind of like this dumpy guy on the other end of the phone to this also very approachable, very friendly, attractive guy who then meets with people, and everyone is so grateful for their special deal. And he's like, no, everyone gets the special deal. So I think they've taken a really nice personalization tone. They kind of, you don't really call him Jake from State Farm anymore. I've noticed they've backed off on that tactic, but their personalization tactic, and they've brought in celebrities. They did a lot with the NFL this year. But I love that they have gotten personal, and their message is everyone gets this customized personalization attention. It's not just special cases, right? As compared to Progressive or Geico. Geico, we've kind of have this outdated gecko animation mascot, and they have one message that Geico is cheaper. But we've seen, I think in the last 2 years, and the four of us have talked about this before, about what personalization can do for your marketing strategy and your brand. Geico is kind of missing that now, because it's just the same old little gecko with the same message about 15% cheaper or whatever. And then Progressive is, I feel like, against their name, they're not very progressive. I feel like they chose a really cool spokesperson in the beginning, but now all the commercials are the Flo show. She plays all the characters. It's like the Medea complex. And now it's just the Flo show. And I don't even understand what Progressive could do for me. I don't even understand what their differentiators are as an insurance company versus State Farm. I would feel more comfortable getting a personal assessment. So I think State Farm is doing a really great job.
It's interesting you say that, because in a little bit of a defense of Progressive is they've got Flo, but they've got a couple other campaigns that run parallel to the Flow campaign. You've got the Becoming Your Parents campaign, which is the guy who counsels these people who are, I guess approaching middle age or whatever. And, things like, there the first spot was hilarious because there's this, and I can relate to this because one of the examples is there's a voiceover going on in the background. He's standing with this woman and there's a couch and there's like 100 pillows on it. So he's walking and goes, you don't need these. No, you don't need these. So, I mean, the problem is.
But what do they stand for?
Well, here's it again. That's where I'm getting to. I'm not quite sure what they're selling me, but what I've come to the realization is with these campaigns, it's about awareness. It's brand awareness. It's not brand differentiation, because part of what differentiates their marketing is that it's completely different than what the other guys are doing. So if nothing else, walk away having remembered the name in a crowded segment, you've accomplished something.
Yeah. I think they're over time. I think that's going to erode, though.
It does.
Because State Farm, the image they're portraying is real. I mean, as a State Farm customer, not to tout them too much, but yeah, I feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling my agent or calling their office, and they're like right around the block, literally. I mean, they live true to like a good neighbor,
right?
And they still live that. They still
their agents
convey their customer experience by personalizing it, customizing it, giving people special attention, so that they're standing out in that way beyond just pure awareness. They're expressing their customer experience through the commercial and living it.
Right. Part of what this comes to is part of brand differentiation is not doing what the other guys are doing in some respect. Because again, insurance, homeowners, car insurance is a hugely crowded space to have to work in. I don't envy insurance companies in that respect. So trying to stand out and be different, because they all basically do the same things. They all pretty much function the same way. Now, they all may not have agents on every corner. Okay. Right. Some people don't care about that.
Right.
Some people just don't. I want the cheapest rate I can get. I mean, look at the General. Shaquille O'Neal's doing the spots for now. They just pretty much come out and say, you're just going to get a great rate. You're going to get the cheapest rates possible to be legally insured. But then they have broadened the message that they're not just for high risk drivers, they're for anybody. But come to us if you want cheap rates. So again, I'm willing to give people a little latitude on leaning on entertainment value in the marketing if they're in a space where it's just really hard to say, we're completely different than that other company, when it comes right down to it, you're probably not.
Well, it's like you talked about brand awareness. I mean, when you use a celebrity or mascot or whatever, that's what they're trying to do. The differentiation to us means something different than what they're practicing. They're just trying to stand out in a very loud space. Well, and, to be more memorable.
And part of how they're doing that is Progressive runs multiple campaigns using multiple themes. Allstate runs multiple campaigns with different themes. So I mean, it's like a shotgun approach. Just throw a bunch of stuff out there and hit people with in as many places and ways as you can, and build. It's awareness. It's awareness advertising. It's not positioning advertising.
Yeah,
right.
That's part of what I think what we're getting to here is that.
Yep, I was waiting on that. I was like, well, Mitch will figure it out. You get a Coke.
Looking around each other way too much.
Do I get that pricey bottle of Angel's Envy in there?
Yeah, Robert's not going to let. No, he's not going to give that.
Yeah,
he's shaking no. He's like,
When I pry it from his cold dead fingers.
When I was going through and looking up this list and everything, I mean, the first one, deliver a unique point of purchase experience. I've had some places where, like, the first thing that kind of came to my mind, believe it or not, was Chick-fil-A and going through the drive-thru.
Oh yeah,
because of the care they take. And then I remember that McDonald's tried this. And
I don't know why that's funny, but it is.
You could not have watched a larger bleep show occur than that, and they quit. That's how well it went.
You're talking about having the associates out there with like an iPad taking your order before you even get to the kiosk.
Yeah, and then sometimes they would even bring the food, and it was just like watching McDonald's do that. I mean, they were just struggling to figure out. It was like one person would come out and they're like, oh, wait, what am I doing? And then they just couldn't. It was kind of like watching a Laurel Hardy kind of thing. That's a little bit of an older reference.
Who's
there,
on
but-
first?
I'm not old enough to know what that is.
I'm going to throw that off and say I actually prefer to order through the intercom.
I do too.
As you know me.
I don't want to see a person.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
want
want to talk to people, especially when I'm going through a drive-through. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
good with
that-
going through that too.
No, that brings up an interesting point, and I think almost like a generational difference too. And I've noticed there's a bank, and I cannot remember the bank's name, but their commercials are just come into our bank cafe, and there's like no tellers, there's no people.
It's Capital One.
It's who is it, Mitch?
Capital One.
Yeah, and like my boyfriend and I, we sit there, we're like, so who is running this bank? Because I don't see employees. And where's my actual But there's a desire for that. There is in some ways a desire for like lack of employee customer interaction at some point. So if that's your differentiator, if that's what you've discovered that your audience wants and needs, then be Capital One, and you can create these employeeless bank couches.
There was a comedian.
Sure I really get it, but
There's a comedian in the I can't remember which one of his specials. It's on Netflix, but he tells a story where he's just going to try to walk into a bank, and he said there's that guy that's standing there, and you're not sure if he's just lost or if he's actually works at the bank, but his job is to do something, and he's like the lobby liaison. That's what he called him.
He's directing traffic.
And he said he went to reach for the door, and he's like, going to the bank, and he said. He had his hand on the knob. And he looks back over his shoulder because he was like, "Who's talking to me?" And then he looks over and he's like, "Yeah." And then he goes back to open the door, and the guy's like, "Okay." And he's like, the first question he asked before he went to grab the door, like he said, "Hey," kind of does the dude thing, like, "Hey, what's up?" And then all of a sudden, after that interaction, he's like, "I'm going to Virginia next week." And he's just like, "What?"
Are we friends now?
Yeah, thank you, Tom Segura. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny that you're talking about the Capital One spot. When I first saw that, I thought, well, that's interesting. Whoever thought of just going to your bank branch to sit down and have a cup of coffee in Danish or something? But by the same token, this dovetails what we were talking about with, not wanting to deal with a physical person when you go through a drive-through. I think banks are.
Mitch is. Let's be clear that John is not antisocial.
I'm not antisocial. I'm a little asocial.
Asocial, yeah. If you don't need to see a person, why do it? I get that, but I think we're coming into a society that's used to those not personal transactions where you're dealing with on your phone, your iPad, your computer. You're not dealing with a real person. So Capital One's trying to give you another reason to come into a branch, so I'm sure, so they can at least try to sell you something else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to give you another reason to come in. And
right.
I give them all the credit in the world for thinking outside the box a little bit, because I often think, when was the last time I was in a bank branch?
Yeah.
Inside a bank.
When was the last time you were allowed? Because that was one of the first things that closed during the pandemic. But I bet they do. I'm willing to bet that Capital One is doing a lot of Wi-Fi tracking too. So not only because obviously you track who is logging into your app and your website, that's an actual customer, but now you have like the Wi-Fi tracking who's logged into your Wi-Fi system and can do some data analysis around that for other advertising. I'm sure they do like geofencing advertising and things like that of that nature. Because banks are proximity things, especially if you're visiting the physical location. It's a proximity need as well as remote. But I bet you they're doing a lot with like that kind of advertising.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Very
they
good
have
point.
to.
I've always seen banks missing an opportunity. Maybe more of them do it than I know of, but to bring in business customers, to have conference rooms or just single person, 2-person meeting rooms. I feel like that's always been an opportunity that I haven't seen many banks take advantage of.
Well, there's one of our banks, like I'll plug US Bank. They do that. But unfortunately, Omicron COVID has limited availability to keep that open and going. But Diana, we really appreciate having you on our show. I'm getting noted that we're running out of tape.
Tape?
Alrighty, just get started.
What's
I know.
What's tape?
It's that stuff that you record on. I used to back in the day.
We're running out of megabytes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let everybody out there know where they can find you and, tag you, comment about you in a nice
Semrush.
way.
Find
I was gonna
find
say
Semrush.
nicely, please. I'm usually on Twitter and LinkedIn a lot. So you can find me on Twitter at DianaRich013. Or if you just type in my name in LinkedIn, it'll come up. There's a wine glass by my name. That's how you know it's me.
All right. And then everybody out there can listen and catch up on this podcast or preferably watch it on YouTube. Please like, subscribe. And,
Leave comments.
Yeah, leave some comments. You can
Buy
find it.
Have a
Semrush.
conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget about buying Semrush.
Yeah, actually,
Very
sign
helpful.
up. Yeah, it's actually a very good tool. So sign up. You can actually find, if you hunt around on our blog and some of our posts, you will find a link there to click and, get it. So anyways, you can also find us where out, John, on the line?
Anywhere at NerdBrand Agency
There you go.
on social.
Yep. And then if you want, you can go to our website, nerdbrandagency.com/podcast and listen and watch the latest episodes there. Once again, I'll be at the ACA Club at Louisville Education Center March 3rd, 9 a.m., speaking about branded search. My partner in crime, Jonathan, will be there, and he will be social. Whatever. So, promise.
I'll tweet.
Yeah, he's not going to be in the car like, is there a drive-through? It's not going to be that. He won't do that.
Maybe.
But, yeah, maybe. But I'm excited for that event so you guys can meet him because I really like for John to come outside more.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I'll be there.
Anyways, thank you all for listening and subscribing. And remember, keep your nerd brand strong.